Commission meeting in these historic City of Miami chambers. Today, I am honored to say that we are joined by Dr. Nelson Adams of the historic St. John Missionary Baptist Church, who will lead us in prayer for this meeting today.
Oh, give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good. With that thought in mind, let us pray. God, we come this morning filled with an attitude of gratitude. We come thanking you for our journey, the ups, the downs, the sunshine, the rain, the good days, those days that have been tough. We thank you, Lord, for we recognize that we are here not because we've been so good or because we're so smart. It's not because of the resources that we have. We're here and we recognize it and acknowledge that it's because of your grace and your mercy, and for that we give thanks. We thank you not only for what you've done for us, but for who you are. God who knows everything, God who is everywhere, God who has all the power. Oh, we give thanks to you. We pause now and reflect on those who are less fortunate than us. We think in particular this morning about those on the west coast of Florida who have been impacted by a horrific storm. Lord, we pray that you help them as they deal with the vicissitudes of their situation. Lord, give them peace. And Lord, give us peace. In fact, God, make us instruments of your peace so that when we see things that ought to be corrected, we correct them. We pray, oh God, that you would allow us to to be blessed and bless us real good, not so that we can walk around and boast, peacock proud as if we are all of that, but bless us, Lord, so that we might be a blessing to others. We focus now, Lord, for just a moment on this place we love and call home, the city of Miami. We ask a special blessing on these leaders, these commissioners, these elected officials, and those who have been called to serve. Lord, we pray that you give them clarity of vision and purpose. We pray that you give them all that they need in their head, all that they need in their hands, but most importantly, Lord, we pray that you give them clean hearts, hearts that might be able to serve you in spirit and in truth. Lord, we reflect for just a moment on the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who reminds us that the time is always right to do what is right. So, Lord, we ask that you and you alone lead us, guide us, direct us, Father, and protect us. And in the tradition in which I have established my faith, we ask it all and pray in the name of Jesus the Christ. And those who agree with those words that have been shared this morning in prayer, simply say amen.
Thank you. Commissioner Reyes, would you join us in leading the Pledge of Allegiance? Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to take this moment to bring to your attention the month of October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I'd like to remind everyone to get their screenings if they have not gotten their screenings. And I would like to announce for District 5, I am having free mammogram screenings for the community Sunday, October 23rd at Charles Hadley Park, Sunday, October 30th at Roberto Clemente Park, and Sunday, November 6th at the Little Haiti Cultural Center. Statistics shows that minorities, particularly Black women and Hispanic women, are most affected by breast cancer. And early detection saves lives. So please get your mammogram screening and share this information. It will be posted on my social media. It will be available on the City of Miami's TV channel, and I will be putting it in the media everywhere because I want everyone to take advantage of these free screenings for breast cancer. And at this time, we are going to call the meeting to order. Madam City Attorney, do you have a statement to read into the record?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Detailed information about processes, order of business, rules of procedure, and scheduling or rescheduling of City Commission meetings can be found in Chapter 2, Article 2 of the City Code, a copy of which is available online at www.municode.com. Any person who is a lobbyist pursuant to Chapter 2, Article 6 of the City Code must register with the City Clerk and comply with the related city requirements for lobbyists before appearing before the City Commission. A person may not lobby a city official, board member, or staff member until registering. A copy of the code section about lobbyists is available in the City Clerk's office or online at www.municode.com. Any person making a presentation, formal request, or petition to City Commission concerning real property must make the appropriate disclosures required by the City Code in writing. A copy of this code section is available at the office of the City Clerk or online at www.municode.com. The City of Miami requires that anyone requesting action by the City Commission must disclose before hearing any consideration provided or committed to anyone for agreement to support or withhold objection to the requested action pursuant to City Code Section 2-8. Any documents offered to the City Commission that have not been provided 7 days before the meeting as part of the agenda materials will be entered into the record at the City Commission's discretion. In accordance with Section 2-33F and G of the City Code, The agenda and the material for each item on the agenda is available during business hours at the city clerk's office and online 24 hours a day at www.miamigov.com. Any person may be heard by the City Commission through the chair for not more than 2 minutes on any proposition before the City Commission unless modified by the chair. Public comment will begin at approximately 9:20 and remain open until public comment is closed by the chair. Members of the public wishing to address the body may do so by submitting written comment forms via the online comment form. Please visit www.miamigov.com/meeting instructions for detailed instructions on how to provide public comment using the online public comment form. The comments submitted through the comment form have been and will be distributed to the elected officials and city administration throughout the day so that the elected officials may consider the comments prior to taking any action. Additionally, the online comment form will remain open during the meeting to accept comments to distribute to elected officials up until the chair closes public comment. Public comment may also be provided live at City Hall, located at 3500 Pan American Drive, Miami, Florida, subject to any and all city rules as they may be amended. If the proposition is being continued or rescheduled, the opportunity to be heard may be at such later date before the City Commission takes action on such proposition. When addressing the City Commission, the member of the public must first state their name, their address, and what item will be spoken about. Any person with a disability requiring assistance, auxiliary aids, and services for this meeting may notify the city clerk. The city has provided different public comment methods to indicate, among other things, the public's support, opposition, or neutrality on items and topics to be discussed at the City Commission meeting in compliance with Section 286.0114 4C Florida statutes. The public has been given the opportunity to provide public comment during the meeting and within reasonable proximity and time before the meeting. Please note, commissioners have generally been briefed by city staff and the city attorney on items on the agenda today. Anyone wishing a verbatim record of the item being considered may request it at the Office of Communications or view it online at www.miamigov.com. PZ item shall proceed according to Section 7.1.4 of the Miami 21 zoning ordinance as temporarily modified pursuant to emergency ordinance numbers 13903 and 13914. Parties for PZ items, including any applicant, appellant, appellee, city staff, and any person recognized by a decision-making body as a qualified intervener, as well as applicants' representatives and any experts testifying on behalf of the applicant, appellant, or appellee, may either be physically present at City Hall to be sworn in by oath or affirmation by the city clerk, or may appear virtually and make arrangements to be sworn in by oath or affirmation in person at their location by any individual qualified to perform such duty. Pursuant to Emergency Ordinance Number 13903, members of the general public who are not parties to an action pending before the City Commission are not required to be sworn in by oath or affirmation. The members of the City Commission shall disclose any ex parte communications pursuant to Florida Statute 286.0115 and Section 7.1.45 of the Miami 21 zoning ordinance. The order of presentation shall be as set forth in Miami 21 and in the City Code. Staff will briefly present each item to be heard. The applicant will present its application or request to the City Commission. If the applicant agrees with the staff recommendation, the City Commission may proceed to its deliberation and decision. The applicant may also waive the right to an evidentiary hearing on the record. For appeals, the appellant will present its appeal to City Commission, followed by the appellee. Staff will be allowed to make any recommendation they may have. Please silence all cell phones and other noise-making devices at this time. This meeting can be viewed live on miamigov.com, the city's Facebook page, the city's Twitter page, the city's YouTube channel, and Comcast Channel 77. The broadcast will also have closed captioning. Thank you.
Mr. City Clerk?
Thank you, Chair. The procedures for individuals who are providing testimony to be sworn in for planning and zoning items and any quasi-judicial items on today's City Commission agenda will be as follows. The members of the city staff or any other individuals required to be sworn in who are currently present at City Hall will be sworn in by me, the City Clerk, immediately after I finish explaining these procedures. Those individuals who are appearing remotely may be sworn in now or at any time prior to the individual providing testimony for planning and zoning items and or quasi-judicial items. Pursuant to Emergency Ordinance Number 13903, those individuals appearing remotely may be sworn in at their location by an individual qualified to administer the oath. After you're sworn in, please be sure to complete, sign, and notarize the affidavit provided to you by the City Attorney's Office. Each individual who will provide testimony must be sworn in and execute an affidavit. Please email a scanned version of the signed affidavit to the city clerk at thannon@miamigov.com prior to providing testimony on the planning and zoning item and/or quasi-judicial item. The affidavit shall be included in the record for the relevant item for which you'll be providing testimony. Commissioners, are you comfortable with all the notice provisions set forth in these uniform rules of procedures we have established for this meeting?
Yes,
Chair may administer the oath for the planning and zoning items.
please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. If we'll be speaking on any of today's planning and zoning items, if I can please have you stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at today's hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And your response is? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. City Manager, do you have any items that need to be pulled or withdrawn from the agenda today?
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Madam City Attorney, Mr. City Clerk. At this time, the administration would like to defer and/or withdraw the following items. PH 8 to be indefinitely deferred. PH 9 to be deferred to the October 27th meeting. PH 10 to be deferred to the October 27th meeting. FR 4 to be deferred to the October 27th meeting. FR 5 to be deferred to the October 27th meeting.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Russell?
Thank you. Mr. Manager, on PH 9 and PH 10, I worked with your administration over the last couple days, and we found a way forward. And so we're ready to move on those today, if you've spoken with Mr. Mensah, with the director. So PH 9 and PH 10 we'd like to hear today. It'll just require a floor amendment to make the administration.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Reyes?
Yes, I would like to defer, indefinitely defer RE 8. We need some financial disclosure.
Okay. Only RE8?
Only RE 8.
Commissioner Russell?
Oh,
do you-
also, well, this is not deferring, this is a sponsoring. I don't know if now it's the right time to.
Okay. You want to sponsor something?
Yeah, no, I want to sponsor PC1. But
Sponsor.
I don't know if this is the right time to say, to state it, or shall wait until later on.
Okay. We can wait till later on for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Madam Chair, would you like pocket items at this time?
Yes, please.
I'll be submitting one pocket item as a directive to the manager regarding upcoming zoning to prioritize issues in my district. So my staff is just finalizing it, and we'll circulate it early this morning so we can all see it.
Okay, and I also have a pocket item. So until we get yours, mine will be pocket item 1.
Yours will be?
Yes.
We have administration as a pocket item as well. Or is that the one you're?
That is it.
Okay.
Yeah. That's them.
So, Victoria, do you need to read this into the record?
Just because we haven't, it's not on the agenda,
Right.
it would be good to read it. It's a resolution, is this the under-deck one, Madam
Yes.
Chair?
Yes.
A resolution of the Miami City Commission directing the city manager to identify potential funding sources to satisfy the Reconnecting Communities Pilot Discretionary Grant Program for the Connecting Miami 395 Underdeck Heritage Trail and Open Space Project, local matching share requirement of no less than 20% of eligible activity costs, and to report his findings to the city commission within 30 days.
The one that she's reading right now, then PI2, if you just clarify that that'll be the T2 pocket.
Yes, when we get it. Okay, at this time, if there are no other items, I will open up the meeting for public comments.
So we move the order
Is-
today?
Yes. Yes.
I'll move it.
What?
I have a motion to move the order of the day. Do I have a second?
Yes, the order of the day, yes, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And at this time, I will open up the meeting for public comments. Those who wish to speak on any items before us on this agenda are welcome to speak. If you would stand up and take your place at the lectern.
Morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. My name is Clarence Davis, owner of 13 Pirates Eat Food Truck based in District 5. And on behalf of District 5 residents, Brightline, and myself as a local business owner, we just want to thank you for the passing of Amendment 12281. And we look forward to serving the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairwoman and Board. I'm Eric Knowles, President of Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce, 1400 Northeast 2nd Avenue. Chairwoman, first of all, I come before you first publicly to apologize for something that happened 8 years ago, basically from a lack of knowing or understanding. I believe we are here today again for the lack of understanding, that being many individuals from the community reaching out to you of concern of the homeless being moved to Virginia Key Beach. They not knowing that the intent was not to place them in or on the trust land, but north of the said land. Not that was the right thing to do, as we have seen that it was deferred. I come before you today asking that this item, SR 5, be withdrawn or denied. First, there were no malfeasance, no significant findings in the audit. This is truly an insult to the Black community and to the trust it has been the steward of this sacred land. Disbanding the current board is an insult to our community. Some of you have not made your appointments. Now is your opportunity to support what has been trusted to the Black community. To our Hispanic commissioners, respectfully, you would not allow the Black community to be over the Freedom Tower or any sacred trust in the Hispanic community. I think of M. Athley Range, I think of Father Gibson, and I think of Garth Reeves, and I think of the little boy that I once was, and Virginia Key Beach was the only beach that I could frequent. The last thing I will say is that each and every one of you have been placed by the will of the community, voters who expect that you will do the will of the people. That is why we are here today, to express our will. The last thing I will say is that we must get beyond the trivial act of being and holding petty grudges.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Terry Williams.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I'm Terry Williams. I'm President and Chief Operating Officer of One United Bank. For those of you who don't know me or know the bank, we're the largest Black-owned bank in the country, and we have an office at 3275 Northwest 79th Street. Over 50% of our employees live in the city of Miami and are Black. I'm here for the community to ask that you pull or deny SR 5. I want to talk a little bit about my background. I know I only have 2 minutes, but just to add credibility to the comments that I'm going to make. I have an MBA from Harvard Business School. I graduated at the top of my class. I have a degree in economics from Brown University, graduated with distinctions. I have reviewed this audit that is being referred to from cover to cover. There is no indication of malfeasance. There's no indication of anything that in fact, the audit itself is what we would call in banking, and I've looked at thousands of audits. It's like an internal audit that's been done by an external party. And it indicates administrative issues that need to be addressed, which have all been agreed to and are in the process of being addressed. So for that reason, if the reason is because of the audit, I would like to take that off the table. I would also like to say for the Black community, it is very important that the trust be maintained and that you assign or to nominate your designees to the trust. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Francis Ragu. I stand here before you in solidarity with the current board. I represent our organization, UPPAC, which stands for Unrepresented People Positive Action Council. an organization that started by Commissioner Betty Ferguson, which we are in our 35th year of meeting each and every Saturday. Over the many years, this current board have kept us abreast in terms of their doing their master plan, the historic museum, and what they're doing across the board. We see no reason to change what is happening in the good and positive environment for our community. The accusation that is being made at the board, I think, is really it's a displeasure knowing what they have done in terms of the passion that they carry in terms of the trust and our community. Historically, we need to preserve. I cannot think about any other group that has the passion in terms of that vision than the current board. And I encourage you either to defer this indefinitely or withdraw SR5, and let's stand and support the doings of the current board. And for that I say thank you. The ladies and gentlemen that you see in the orange is part of our group that have taken time from their job to be here and show solidarity for the present board. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Ron Frazier, and I have a handout of what I'm going to say, and I'd like to give that to the clerk. As I said before, my name is Ron Frazier. I'm chairman and CEO of the BAC Funding Corporation. I'm a board member of the History of Miami Museum. I'm the former chairman of the historic Hampton House, and I'm a retired architect and urban planner. I'm here to speak against the resolution that abolishes the Virginia Key Park Public Trust. The Virginia Key Beach Trust has overseen this park for its restoration since 1999 and should be allowed to finish this job. My reasons are as follows. If this project was in any other community, we would not be here in this chamber having this discussion. The following statements will prove my point. If this historical area was related to Henry Flagler, Julia Tuttle, or Jose Marti, and the discussion was to get rid of it, replace it, or not build a museum in its honor, what would this commission do? Now let's put some blackness in it. If this historical area was related to the legendary black Cuban general Antonio Maceo, and discussion was to get rid of it, replace it, or not build this museum, what would this commission do? In today's climate of cancel culture and not telling the truth, the whole truth about history, it is very important that the Black history, culture, and heritage become a prominent legacy in the city of Miami. There needs to be more sensitivity displayed towards the Black diaspora's historical cultural heritage, as well as justice and attitudes. Fortunately, I'm almost 80 years old, and I can remember what Jim Crow was and its impact on Black people. Virginia Key Beach is an environmental and historic landmark in the city of Miami and was the first beach designated for Black residents as a result of Jim Crow.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The rest
Thank
of the
you.
items are in the handout.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. I am Joanne Harris, address 5020 Northwest 197th Street, Miami 33055. I'm here, yes, representing with the orange, but I wanted this to be informational. I grew up in Riviera Beach, Florida, and there was not only Jim Crow and segregation up until 1971, when the whites would come in and they would leave the Black schools immediately. There was also a beach that we were entitled to going to called Juno Beach. I went back about 10 years ago and I found that instead of them recognizing it as the Black people's beach, they said it was the Native American. I think it's wrong to erase our history because these halls were built by Black hands. There might have been white architects that designed it, but the hands, the sweat that was put in was ours. We were designated Virginia Key Beach. To erase that would be like erasing a part of our history that needs to be told, that needs to be preserved, that needs to be respected and honored. Because were it not for us, these buildings the federal buildings would not have been built. So you have to recognize whose backs you're standing on as well, and honor the people, because we can't be replaced either, and we're not going anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, no clapping in chambers. Please, please, no clapping in chambers. Do like this. Right. Good morning.
Good morning. Apologies for clapping. My name is Chris Molina. I'm here on the behalf of 7,000 petition signers who are in favor of keeping Miami-Dade College managing Tower Theater. We're all incredibly happy with the way that Tower Theater is being run currently. We appreciate the culture that Miami-Dade College has injected into our community, and we would love to see it continue. As a filmmaker, I think of my grandparents coming to Tower Theater when they first got to America, seeing movies and getting their first taste of American life. And now I get to premiere my movies there. And it is kind of a full circle American dream sort of thing. And it would really hurt to have that taken away from me and thousands of other Miami residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't believe at all that the Tower Theater is in the agenda. And while I would have no problems in having people discuss items not in the agenda after we're done with our main agenda, it's not fair for many others that are coming for items that are on the agenda to have to wait more time for some to come and speak on items that are not on the agenda. And by the way, the Tower Theater is still run by the city or not. We'll be having films also.
Victoria, where's the manager's staff? Can someone confirm, because I do remember reading Tower Theater, but it could have been on another agenda?
No.
It's on the other agenda?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see it in the agenda. This agenda, I don't think.
It's not on this agenda. I think there was something last agenda.
Last
that we
agenda,
talked about.
and last agenda, I mean, it was removed, right?
Yeah, it was removed.
It was
Okay.
removed.
We'll move forward with public comments. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Concerning billboards in Bayfront Park, Maurice Ferre, and Virginia Key, please vote no. The goal of collecting additional funding to improve and maintain these parks by undermining the quality of those parks and the quality of life is irrational. It is like wanting to repair an old house by first destroying its foundation. The foundation of these parks is the beauty of nature. Elected officials should seek to protect green areas, but it seems that green dollars is the priority here. I know that you don't live in downtown Miami and it will not directly affect you, but please understand that there are thousands of families that have moved to downtown Miami and have made it our home. We have moved from all over the nation and all over the world. Yes, we do love Miami because it is beautiful and enjoyable. The real estate boom has increased property value and given the city a wealth of finances. It has added $88 million to the general fund. It is true that Bayfront and Maurice Ferre parks need maintenance that goes beyond mowing the lawn. The parks are full of people that are homeless by choice. They live, defecate, urinate, and litter on a daily basis. We have benches that facilitate their ability to make benches their full-time bed. In Bayfront Park, the fountain has been broken for 10 years, and pump is used on a weekly basis to drain the water from the fountain onto the lawn. Am I finished? No. Okay.
That,
the lawn
that buzz gives you 30 more seconds.
Okay. The lawn looks like green and brown quilt. The benches are oxidized. There are 5 eyesore solar panels in an appropriate location, also defacing the beauty of the park. The Oriental Pond is more like a green gelatin pond full of algae, while its main entrance looks like a jigsaw puzzle full of cracks and damages. We have concerts and events that close Bayfront Park.
Thank
Chair,
you.
if I could just have the speaker's name for the record.
May we have your name for the record?
Reverend Pedro Martinez.
Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Jones. How are you today?
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I'm here on item SR5, asking this board to pull or deny that item. I'm also here in support of the trust, to continue the trust, and ask that each of you that have not made your appointment to the trust, to make your appointment to the trust. And I want to say this. If Athlete Range was sitting there, we would not be here. If Ms. Range was here, we would not be here having this discussion. She's not here, but guess what? Her grandson, who took over when she left, is here. This was the last project she worked on. Athlete Range, Dorothy Fields, and Ms. Enid Pickney, and Mr. Denny Zulu, and I can go on and on, that fought to keep that beach for the black community to have something that we can say that ours. We still have not built the museum. If Ms. Range was here, we would not be here. Let's act like she's here. Let's do the right thing. Pull or deny that item. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairwoman. James Torres, President of DNA. Good morning, Commissioners. We'd like to ask something on SR4 and FR6, which are the billboards that are currently pending. The DNA calls upon the City Commission to defer SR4, FR6 until the City Attorney and the commissioners that are sponsoring it to really look at it and see what the impact is going to be within the community. We also like to request a seat at the table to kind of address these items, especially on the light studies, if this is going to go forward. This is something that is important to the community that's living and breathing in the area. So that's on the billboards that we're asking. On FR3, which is the beloved scooter situation, we kindly ask the commissioners to please defer that into at least next year. This item mostly impacts District 2 more so than any of the other districts throughout the city. We also request a seat at the table on that if this is going to go forward. As we know, last year was a challenging year before the changes were made on the pilot program, but it's something that's important for the district. We understand that the last mile is a beautiful thing, but it's not a beautiful thing when there's issues within District 2, especially in the core. Manolo Reyes, you're fully aware of that. So we kindly ask if you can kind of challenge that as well, to have someone from the DNA present to have these conversations. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Carol Jackson. I represent the South Dade branch of the NAACP, and although I live in Cutler Bay, we have members and constituents in our territory, which is everything south of Flagler Street in Dade County. So we do have members who are part of the city of Miami. I do have a handout, which I'll give to the clerk. I'm coming to talk about SR5, Virginia Key Beach. We do wish that the commission would delay or deny this item. The existing board for Virginia Key Beach is steeped in both the struggle to open the beach in a segregated environment and the struggle more recently to restore the park. The board is uniquely positioned to develop the museum, the proposed museum and park, so that it will not only educate present-day Miamians on the area's Black history, but will also be a tourist attraction. Blacks, as well as others, were attracted to the sun and surf of Miami, and for Black individuals coming to Miami to get away from snow and ice, Virginia Key Beach was the only place in Miami-Dade County they could be on the beach, and the cottages in the park were the only place that they could stay on a beach. This despite the fact that the beach, with its strong currents and deep water, was not as safe a place to swim as those areas set aside for whites. Do not destroy this history and leave the board in the hands and we want you to leave the board in the hands of its current knowledgeable leadership and singular purpose to make this area a jewel in the park system, available and used by all, but forever keeping the history of both the struggle for justice and fairness and the good times, despite the surrounding hostile environment that the Black community enjoyed at this sacred park. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair, Commission, staff. This is Albert Gomez, 3566 Vista Court. I just wanted to say the RE3 I fully support. I've been in the trenches over in the West Coast with the search and rescue folks. They're doing a hell of a job. Support them in any way you can. You know, on RE7, putting that large amount of money, $12 million, towards flooding programs and things of that nature, through the chair, I'm going to reference Commissioner Manolo Reyes. He's doing a district beautification team. It's a beautiful program. It gives jobs to disaffected community members within his own district to clean streets, check storm drains. These are solutions that can be deployed with that sort of money. I would point that as a program that could be funded across the city. I see you deferred PH8, but FR6 is still on the table. Putting a museum consultant with a no-bid contract is the wrong thing to do. That's why you have the Virginia Key Trust. Things of that nature could be discussed through that, through appointments, and you can make an assessment on best persons or companies that could support identification of a museum consultant. SR4, our nature-based places are not places for advertising. This is a spit in the face of Maurice Ferre. You have to consider what he would think about having this put. And once you can do it there, you can do it everywhere else. And that's our public trust. That's wrong. And effectively removing the board is going backward from democracy. When systems are put in place like appointments from the dais, that gives the people more power. You taking that away and grabbing it and putting it in one commissioner's office, that takes away everything. And optics matter. It's a black board. Do not take that away. That's an insult. Withdraw it and take it from the table.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, honorable commissioners. My name is Brad Brown, and I am Secretary for the South Dade NAACP, and I speak relative to item number 5. For 20 years, beginning 1984, I was part of the directorate of the Noah Fisheries Laboratory, which sits at the entrance to today's park. So I have observed the transformation from an unintended area to where it is today. But I knew about Virginia Key Beach before I arrived. History buffs like to talk about celebrities like Dr. King, who visited that beach, but ordinary tourists came also. There were cottages, approximately where the Marine Research Labs are today. They were the only place in Dade County where a black person could come and walk out the door to a beach. I had a dear friend and mentor, an NAACP president, whom I called my Cape Cod mother. She was invited by my work colleagues to my send-off to Miami, and she spoke and said that my lab had destroyed her cottage and that thus I owed the community. She visited us here when she was about 90, and I put a lawn chair in the waters near the lab so she could once more put her feet in the Miami's oceans, which meant so much to her. This area will be a draw to descendants of people like her. Please leave the trust in place with people who are dedicated to the importance of this history. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Dennis Phillips, and I think you heard from clergy and a whole bunch of other people why the homeless should not be able to lodge at the Virginia Key and other areas, especially if you don't manage it properly and maintain the psychological effects of the
Excuse me,
people that's
excuse me.
there.
We're not discussing the homeless on the beach. We're talking
Okay,
about the trust. Go ahead.
I understand that. And, okay, going along, I think that the commission should make the Virginia Key Trust Board whole because there was no malfeasance that rise to the level of corruption. So it's been, if I'm not mistaken, it's been 18 years and that the money was appropriated for the museum and it still haven't been built. I mean, you've heard all the reasons why the Black community should have a legacy community museum to represent the city of Miami. I mean, all of you are in favor of that. Just do the right thing and let's get the job done. And the trust, they are sincere in helping in this effort, and I think that should be a way of breaching the trust to everyone, okay?
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. I am Reynold Martin, 3325 Percival Avenue, Coconut Grove. I'm a former president of the Professional Black Firefighters Association, City of Miami Fire Department. I'm the president of the Coconut Grove Community Action Community Advisory Committee, vice president of the Coconut Grove Homeowners and Tenants Association, proud member of the South Dade Chapter NAACP, member of George Washington Carver Alumni Association, and Grace here in Coconut Grove as well. I went to school at a segregated school, lived in a segregated community, worked in a segregated fire department. And now we work to make sure that equal opportunity prevails in housing, education, and our workforce. We have found that one way to accomplish this is to make sure we never forget the blood, sweat, and tears shared to overcome these artificial barriers. The existing guardian of this same history is the Virginia Key Trust that we support. And we feel that supporting an entity of this nature will make sure that our kids will never forget stony the road that we trod. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Grady Muhammad, Director of Intergovernment Affairs, Nation of Islam, Muhammad Amas, number 29, 5660 Northwest 7th Avenue. Two things we're looking at. SR 6, which is the adding first responder to the Little Haiti Trust. They're good, but they don't need to be on the trust. First officers, first responders, police. We need people with business experience, economic development experience. We don't need first responders. They can be ex officio officers if you want to have them on the board. They can be non-voting ex officio officers. As it relates to RE11, I'm in favor of Mr. DeFurston to be able to be president, CEO of the board, because we need to move forward. We've got the money, but we're not moving expeditiously to get this thing done. I'm in favor of PH 1 through 6. One of the greatest things, this city wouldn't be a city if it wasn't for black people and black men in particular. A third of the incorporators incorporated this city because there was not enough Caucasian people to incorporate it. The Virginia Key Beach is our beach. We have a board. Let the board do its job. Let's not micromanage it and continue to start doing other things where they can't do that. We're talking about the museum. It's not built. Cuba's getting the museum built. They got Freedom Tower. They got other things. When we're going to get our museum, we're going to get our history. Because if it wasn't for us, you wouldn't have a city of Miami, period. So we need to have our history respected, honored, protected. Because if we don't get it, everybody else that just got here, they get museums, got museums. What about black people? We deserve the same thing. We ain't asking for it. We demanded it. Madam Chair, I love you, but I can tell you right now, if we can't get what we need, the black community, the Haitian community, we're going to have to do one thing. We call you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Theophilus Williams, 1391 Northwest 95th Street. And my concern is why every time we elected y'all, y'all don't come to the people, and when y'all got issues, y'all behind the doors with it. Y'all give away 2 parks. Virginia Key Beach is not the problem. The problem is y'all want to take control and control the money. You got to bold. You got to deal with us, not destroy us. It's not about, it is about y'all. The politics divide this community. This what y'all want. This what y'all want. And development. But on the back and say, in God we trust. Can we trust y'all? No, we can't. Because everybody else getting what they want, but when it's come through this black community, y'all got a problem with us. It's incorporation we never voted on. Everything y'all putting through the table. And y'all district, you're not doing that to your district. And if y'all all come together and join and come to our district and listen to our concern, then we can hear that. We got problems that y'all not resolving, not giving. It's plenty of money coming from Washington. But where it's going at? Look at the mayor. The mayor should be listening to the concern. Where he at? But it's the big bull down there, he down there with the showcase. Wynwood, you're building up Wynwood. So when y'all gonna respect this black community? And we putting y'all in position, but y'all not respecting us. Y'all behind the door with these developments.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to take a short break to do a presentation outside, and the public comment will resume right after the presentation.
We can begin, Madam Chair, here.
Okay.
We have a very distinguished guest that are present here today. Director General Aminu Chi and Director Phaedra Chang from the Republic of China in Taiwan. Recently, we had our Speaker from Congress take a very valiant, courageous step in leading a delegation and going directly to the Republic of China and Taiwan to express and to show the bilateral support, both Democrat and Republican, to a strong ally for freedom, for justice of the United States in Taiwan. The result of that trip was that the People's Republic of China, also known as Communist China, started threatening to invade Taiwan, threatening our own speaker while she was there. And this is something that we, as people that have been the lighthouse for freedom throughout the world, cannot accept. And this is why all of us should follow in the footsteps of our leadership in Washington, city to city, and expressing our support to the Republic of China and Taiwan, and to express our condemnation for the actions of a country that, while yes, very large, has also become a very large oppressor of its people, of others, and is standing in the way of peace in our world. Last year, we had over 100,000 Americans of all ages, colors. Many were African Americans. Many more were youth, both black, white, Hispanic, and everything in between. And they died of fentanyl, a drug that's being produced in communist China, is being sent to the United States through their partners in the Mexican drug cartels so they could destroy the best that we have and turn our communities upside down in the United States. And that is also something that all of us should stand together in government, in private business, in churches, in synagogues, in mosques, and inform our people and protest what is happening. We will be making a brief presentation, and then we will be going in front of City Hall where we're going to raise the flag of a free China, the People's Republic of China in Taiwan. If I could ask Evie if you could bring Director General Chi up here and Director Chan.
Good morning.
Madam Chair, thank you. Nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you. Is someone else joining me up here? Are you coming up? Oh, you can take a picture. Okay. What is?
Hi, yes, sir. Nice to meet you.
Do you pronounce this Taipei?
Taipei Economic, yes.
Okay.
For Pelosi there.
The City of Miami is presenting this proclamation, and it reads, whereas the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office in Miami is the representative office for the Republic of China, Taiwan, in Florida, the office's jurisdiction includes Florida, Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, Bermuda, the Bahamas, the Turks and Caicos Islands, and the Dominican Republic. In addition to providing consular services, they are committed to improving the economic and cultural relations between Taiwan and our jurisdiction, and whereas the long-standing partnership between Taiwan and the United States has never been more robust, both sides are engaged on issues of trade and investment, regional security and defense, as well as support for Taiwan's international space. Through programs such as the Global Cooperation Training Framework, Taiwan and the United States also seek to contribute to global issues ranging from combating infectious diseases to women's empowerment. And whereas hundreds of thousands of visitors travel between Taiwan and the United States each year, the United States also continues to be one of the top destinations for Taiwanese business people and students, especially following Taiwan's inclusion in the visa waiver and global entry programs. Now, therefore, City Commission and Mayor Francis Suarez and Commissioner Joe Carollo pay tribute and celebrate the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office by virtue of the present official document proclaim the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office Day in the City of Miami. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Would you like to say something?
Yes. Madam Chair, Vice Chairman Carollo, and the City Commission, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's my honor and privilege to be here receiving the proclamation from the City Commission. On behalf of Taiwan, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to Mayor Suarez, Vice Chairman, Madam Chair, and City Commission for your continued support. Taiwan is a peace-loving country. We share the common values of freedom, democracy, and respect for human rights. As we enjoy the fresh air of freedom in this beautiful sunshine state, please don't forget there are so many people still suffering from the oppression of dictatorship. So, once again, thank you so much for standing together with Taiwan to fight for freedom and democracy, and thank you so much to fight against the communism and authoritarianism with us. I wish all of you all the best. Thank you.
Now, Director General Chi, on behalf of this City Commission, our mayor, and the residents of Miami, we would like to present you this key of friendship, of eternal friendship, for you to have, and in part as a sign of our eternal friendship with you and the People's Republic of China in Taiwan. Thank you. Now we're going to go to the flag raising ceremony. Let's just get one more picture here.
And just for the record, the meeting stands in recess.
We will begin the meeting. I have a quorum now. Public comments period will begin again. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. My name is Jenna Bauf, and I've been part of the the historic Virginia Key Beach Park family for a very long time. I helped Dr. Gregory Bush trying to get the park registered as a national park. I worked on a documentary. I've worked closely with the board for a very long time. I had a nonprofit there called Naturelings that served the population of young adults with developmental delays. And currently, I host movement classes there and run an art project in one of the garden areas. Today, I'm here because the board needs to remain exactly as it is. That's not the issue. The issue is that the city of Miami and the county need to come together, because the funds that the county holds to build this historic Black museum needs oversight and cooperation from the city of Miami. That's the change that needs to happen. Cooperation in the effort of creating something greater. And that's what people need to do to make great things happen, come together. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Paul Christian Amphi, with the Family Action Network Movement, 100 Northeast 84th Street. That's in the city of Miami. Thank you very much, Chairwoman and different commissioners, for your support on critical issues that we and other community members have been facing. The reason why we're here today and this morning is to uplift the calls of the NAACP and other organizations who are championing the dignity of African American people, to support the continuation of the trust in its current form. We believe that a lot of great achievements have been made, and I really, put my hand out to the wonderful and brave people here who have worked so hard on this issue to uplift the culture of African Americans. I believe that Ms. Range would be proud to see, through the multiple generations, the continuation of the great work that has been done. So I echo the calls, for you, the leaders of the city, the leaders of the county, the different stakeholders to come together and to find a solution to move forward so that this cultural heritage can continue to be uplifted. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commission, and staff. My name is Amon Johnson. I'm a partner at the law firm of Greenspoon and Martyr. I'm here to speak on behalf of my good friend for over 20 years, Duferson Nari, and his appointment as the CEO of the Little Haiti Revitalization Trust. This is item RE11 on the agenda. Again, I've known Mr. Nari since college. He was actually my guide on my visit to Brown University during my senior year in high school. And at that time, I had no concept of what Little Haiti was, let alone Miami. Fast forward many years later, I end up moving here and come to understand many of the stories and history that he had imparted on us while we were in college. So all that to say that for as long as I've known him, for 20 some odd years, Mr. Nari has been devoted to both drawing awareness to both the Haitian community here and abroad, and also been committed to the Little Haiti community. And that's been evidenced in everything that he's done in his professional career. And in addition to that, I know that one of the qualifications, or one of the requirements rather, is for the candidate to have good moral character. I can personally attest to that, having known him for more than 20 years. And in addition to that, and most importantly, his skill set speaks for itself. An Ivy League graduate and both times, both undergrad and as an MBA, Harvard Business School alum. So both his professional career, his academic credentials, and his character make him highly qualified for this position, and I'm confident that he would help move both the Little Haiti Revitalization Trust and Little Haiti itself forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Perfect. Hi, good morning. I'm Ellie Del Corto, Director of Community Engagement for the Alapata Collaborative. Technically not in the agenda, but coming forward on regarding the RFP for the GSA lot, because I know the 45 days have passed. So thank you for making sure for hosting us. The Alapata community has been advocating for several months on what they'd like to see in the GSA lot. We live in a very expensive city. We all know that. Rents are going up, housing prices, you know, the idea of the American dream of buying a house is out of reach for many. And we need more affordable housing, housing that's affordable for residents within the Alapata community. We also need, of course, more access to green space and community services. So we're looking forward for the RFP. We're hoping, of course, that some of the incorporations of the PLPG report that was submitted last year, of course, asking for affordable housing for those earning between 60 to 100% of the median income, averaging about 80% if possible. Green space, of course, because let's be honest, you know, it's a health, quality of life issue that we all know about the importance of being able to get out into this green space, away you could say from the hustle and bustle directly of this urban, wonderful city that we live in. One of the other issues that, of course, we would like to see would be a resident on the evaluation committee if possible, and a second phase of community engagement. Thank you for taking the time out, and the community's anxiously awaiting the results. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair. My name is Gloria Romero Roses. I live at 808 Brickell Key Drive, and I'm speaking regarding SR5. As a resident and a business owner here in the city of Miami, I'm also a community leader. I am committed to transparency, to a level playing field, and to ethical checks and balances. I'm here to stand in solidarity with all the advocates and the leaders that have already spoken with regards to this item and support of the Virginia Key Trust as it currently exists. This proposal to replace the independent trust is suspect as to its timing and does not pass the sniff test of good governance principles. As a business owner, I am also a past chair of the Women's Fund of Miami-Dade County. I'm a past chair of Ruth's List Florida, a statewide committee. I am also the current vice chair of Transit Alliance Miami. And in all of these roles, I consistently strive to meet three principles. Number one, are we being transparent about purpose and intent? Number two, do we ensure a level playing field and that everything that we're doing is to achieve that? And number three, does it meet basic ethical standards? I find it quite ironic that moments ago, this board and this commission honored the Taiwanese representative and indicated its solidarity with its cause for freedom, for justice, in the face of an authoritarian regime that blatantly and acts with impunity to silence its civil society. I urge you, do not undermine your visibility, your credibility, and your legitimacy by enacting SR5 because it would ultimately appear to be hypocrisy at its max. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chairwoman, members of the Commission. I come here, my name is John O'Leary. I'm a priest of Corpus Christi Parish. I attend the people of Alapata in their church, Nuestra Señora de la Alta Gracia. And I come to support them in their concern about the development of the 19 acres of land in their area. They're concerned that it be used for affordable housing. I'm glad they asked me to come because this is a tremendous problem in so many cities in the United States today where working class people, lower middle class, really are being left with no place to go. I have many personal stories, which I won't be able to tell you this morning, but people being forced out of where they live by high rents, rents being raised, and having no place to go. So for you as the Commission, I'd like to ask you to really take advantage of this new proposal that you'll be dealing with in these coming months to, as a city, that Miami give an example to other cities in making available affordable housing for lower middle class, working class people and the poor. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I'm here. My name is Terrell Fritz, 111 East Flagler Street. I'm Executive Director of the Flagler District Bid. Here to speak on PZ1. The Flagler District is enlivened by small businesses and restaurants, some of which have setbacks sufficient enough to allow for outdoor dining. So I'd like to express our appreciation to the administration and city staff. We sent to your offices earlier this week our support of the initiative with a few changes that the staff of the Downtown Development Authority and city staff had worked on. So I've seen the substitution, PZ1. We are very happy with those changes and would encourage you to please support them. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commission. My name is Lauren Granoff. I'm an attorney. My business address is 3250 Northeast First Avenue, Suite 334, Miami, 33137. I'm here on RE1. It was a matter that, mitigation enforcement matter. It's been scheduled since September 19, but I had communication with Rachel Dooley from the Law Department yesterday. On several occasions that went up until around 6:45 in the evening. And I understand that this matter was to be deferred to October 27. I just want to make sure that I'm clear on that because I did not hear that at the opening proceedings.
That is clear. That is true.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. My name is Steve Warnick, address at 320 Miracle Mile, Coral Gables. I'm here on behalf of the Wynwood Community Enhancement Association on PZ5. The Wynwood Community Enhancement Association's mission is to provide a unified voice for neighborhood improvements and enhancing the quality of life of current and future residents. They were integral in leading the vision plan in 2019 that was recognized by the City of Miami and led to the NRD2's creation. First, I want to thank Commissioner King, Chairwoman King, for reinvesting in this community, whether it's Clemente Park or the Bakehouse or De Hostos. It was recognized here, I think, at the last meeting. Those are critical things and anchors in the community. The text amendments that are on the agenda for PZ5, the Wynwood Community Enhancement Association supports PZ5 and has adopted a resolution that I'll put into the record and supports the cleanup amendments that were recommended 6-1 for approval by the Planning Board at their meeting. These substitutions and the cleanup amendments just relate to Section 5.1.5 architectural standards and the illustration of 5.1. I'm going to put this into the record, but I think this is the NRD2's a tool, and this is a way to reinvest into the community. I think these amendments can help us to produce more workforce and affordable housing that's accessible to people in the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Kerry Johnson. I live at 29 Northwest 52nd Street. I'd just like to say that I like museums, and I travel all over this country to see museums. I've been to quite a few museums down here in Dade County. If you go over to Coral Gables, you'll see Coral Gables has their museum over there on how Coral Gables was built. Everything in Broward, everything down here, Coconut Grove, everybody has their museums. But if you look at it, they got a small section on the black community, and the black community was the ones that really built up every city that's here. But they don't give the black community a museum for themselves that you can go to, and the children that's in the school system and everywhere else can go and find out about their history. I think that there's definitely a lack of giving black population their amount of what they should get out of what they've done. and through history, okay? I've seen quite a few museums. I think that one of the best museums I've seen in Black history was in Jackson, Mississippi, okay? And I've seen the one that's in Washington, D.C. also, which is very nice. But we need to have something here, okay? This is a big city now. It's like, I'm from Chicago, and they have plenty of museums in Chicago. And they should have plenty of good museums here, down here in Miami, because now we're turning to be quite a big city, and you need to have everybody to be referenced. Not just the Spanish, and not just the whites, and not just, but the blacks also. And I think that Virginia Key Beach would be a nice place to put a black museum there. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. I'm Caro, and I'm a lifelong resident of Miami. I'm a young person who came to you to talk about the past, present, and future of Miami, what I want to see for it, and in opposition of SR 5. Thanks for those of you who are physically here also. It feels disappointing and unsurprising seeing the elected officials of the city of Miami to do things without regard for what the public is clearly asking for. You guys are championing unnecessary developments, avoiding accountability, and actively working on taking important parts away from our community and its people. The Virginia Key Trust, and as Chris mentioned, the Tower Theater are only examples for the framework that you're all actively working on operating to run Miami in your favor. And respectfully, I don't understand how you're pointing fingers at communist China and you guys aren't holding up the mirror to see your own actions and what that hypocrisy looks like. I wish I could change the rules at my job so that they would be convenient for me, and I'm sitting here wondering, like everyone else in this room, why you guys can all change the city rules to be convenient for what you want. Erasing Miami history, erasing Black history specifically. I care about my city, the ones who built it, and the ones who keep it moving, and I don't think it's you if you're actively choosing to look the other way. Independent trust, Black history, 1 + 1 = 2. It's pretty simple. I don't see where your oversight is, but we all see you in this room. And I'm leaving here wondering if we also get a friendship bracelet for trying to defend what we care about. I yield my time. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, madam, and the rest of the commissioners. I want to talk about two things today. I was born in Louisville, Kentucky, the home of Muhammad Ali. That's how we got to Miami, through him. That was our connection. I remember the beach. I remember my dad driving with my twin sisters, me and my mom, to come down here to a beach because the biggest waterfront we ever seen was the Ohio River. So whatever you are going to do with Virginia Key Beach, please do it. It needs to be done. If you're going to put a museum there, put a museum there. But put something there that recognizes the history of the people of this city, who built this city. Last thing I'd like to talk about is the fact that I'm glad that you finally getting the little Haiti revival out. I get messed up with that word anyway. But I'm glad something is really getting ready to be done with it, because it's just been sitting dormant for too long. So I just hope that I support whatever move you're making. The CEO, the proposed CEO, I've heard nothing but good things about him. I hope that we can finally, get some meetings going on where we can get something done. But that history about Virginia Key Beach, I really want people to really understand that, because I came up in segregation. I was born in 1948. We only had one swimming pool in Louisville, Kentucky. So that's how we ended up down here in Miami. My family's been down here ever since. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good morning.
Chair, can I have the speaker's name, sir? Just your name for the record.
That's all I gave you. I'm sorry. Michael Clarkson, 122 Northeast 78th Street, TIT, Miami, Florida.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, board. Bart Merville, 246 Northwest 54th Street, 33127. I'm here in support of R11, a reference to the interim director. I'm glad that we can finally be moving this forward. But in addition, I'm also here to talk about SR 5. I spent long hours with Dr. Pickney just in reference to preserving the oral history of Virginia Key Beach. And so for us, it means a whole lot for, to keep this board together and for you guys to table SR 5. But it begs the question, what's the real ulterior motive for removing an entire board? It's really perplexed. So I wonder, is it a development thing? Is it about the developers? Like, what's it really all about? So I'm hoping that we can keep this board here together so they can accomplish what they started. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Amina McNeil. I'm the president CEO of the Martin Luther King Economic Development Corporation, located at 6114 Northwest 7th Avenue. And I'm here to show my support for the chairwoman on the Virginia Key Beach Trust item. The reason I'm in support is that for over 10 years, I was a board member where Ms. King was our leader. And in those 10 years, I saw where the board started and where it ended when she had the honor of being elected to office. And I'm confident that as the chairwoman of the board, she will make sure to put the concerns of the community first, as she currently serves the District 5, which is majority Black, and the board that I serve on, we serve Liberty City, Brownsville, a community that is majority Black and is underserved and whose voices are often overlooked. So I understand the concerns of the community, but I do believe that Ms. King would be a good person to help the board go in the correct direction, no matter what that board is composed of. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, and good morning, distinguished commissioners. My name is Wilkinson Seju. I am the owner of Chef Creole, and I am requesting that we deny SR 5. I remember when I was young, we used to go to Virginia Key Beach, my grandfather, my dad, my family. And not too far from Virginia Key Beach was the zoo when we were young. Interesting enough, we're at the point right now where we're actually trying to establish legacy. The Virginia Key Beach represents history of Black people that tells a tremendous and significant story. And that story, and we're talking about in the big scheme of things, would be crumbs on the table. We should at least honor that, and we should at least look at how we could extend that legacy. Now, when we talk about removing the board, we all know that everything in this lifetime is time sensitive. The time it takes for us to replace, remove, or try to make changes is the time that we're losing from trying to build a successful legacy that's been trying to be established. For quite some time, this board has been here. This seems to be something that's systematic with Madam Chair, because I was the chair of the board of Little Haiti Revitalization Trust, and Madam's Chair's way of introducing herself was to, of course, dismantle the board. And we all know that it's time sensitive. And we're talking about a community that gave the developers their $1 billion payout because of the SAP. And at this point, the community has not gotten anything in order to sustain themselves. So I ask, please, and
Thank you.
regardless of us trying to micromanage,
Thank you.
please.
Good morning.
Good morning. Mic on? Is the mic on? Okay. Good morning. My name is Fabian Martinez. I am the founder of Esquina de Abuela, a property that used to belong to my grandmother when she got here from Cuba. I've turned it into like a community center. I am a resident and business owner in Alapata. So my interests are that GSA 19 acres, there was supposed to be an RFP released. It hasn't been released. So we're hoping it does get released. And, you know, the interest of affordable housing, working class housing, and market price. I think within 19 acres we could accomplish that. That's the reason I came in here. But now hearing about Virginia Key, you know, I came from Cuba in 1980 as a young man. And, you know, I'm very grateful to this country, to this city for everything it's provided for me and my family. But throughout my history, I have seen the struggle of the Black community in Miami. And as a Cuban American, you know, because I'm American now, Cuban American, I think that we have to, if so many Cubans want us, you know, libertad in Cuba, then we also have to be worried about the people that are the are the backbone of Miami. Miami was not built by Cubans. Miami was built by the Bahamians and the black community. Later, the Cubans enhanced it, so I asked for, the Cuban Americans and any other Latinos to have the back of the black Americans that deserve the respect. So to me, it's a disgrace that you would try to take Virginia Key away from them. For so many years, they couldn't even go to Miami Beach. What, you don't agree with what I'm saying?
I've got to clarify something. Nobody's taking Virginia Key from nobody. Virginia Key and the trust and the museum and all of that still on the table.
Okay.
Nobody is going to kick or try to erase the history of Virginia Key. I came here in 1959. I came here when blacks have to sit on the back of the bus and they have their own water fountain. I know, and I suffer with them. You see, and I was discriminated for being a Cuban too. You see, and nobody is going to take Virginia Key. Madam Chair doesn't want to take Virginia Key from nobody. Madam Chair wants to, what she wants to do is to get it done. Get that museum done. You see, accusing her is quite unjust.
Thank you. I'm glad that we are in the same page. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Catherine Martino, 3526 Southwest 26th Street. And I'm here in solidarity with everyone here who is speaking out against SR5. And I just want to say I'm really moved by the passionate testimonies that people have shared today, especially from some of the members of the community who have experienced segregation. And I want to say, to your point, I'm a newer resident in Miami, but I think one of the main issues here, from what I understand, is keeping the trust as it is. And so I just want to say I stand in solidarity for that. I think it's very important to keep the trust as it is. And I also want to say more selfishly that I really want for Virginia Park to stay as it is and for the trust and for that museum to be built so we can all experience it together. And I hope you guys do the right thing. Thanks.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, commissioners and everyone. Good morning. My name's Vivian Perkins. I live at 1300 Northwest 50th Street. I'm here to discuss BC 23 and 24. The right words at the right time tells who you are. Please open your hearts and try to understand the suffrage in my community. Come check it out. Please come check it out. Then you will know you don't understand our story. Chairwoman King has represented a good critique of our history and our story. If you can keep an open mind and an open heart, working together, we can come as a team to get our first historical Black beach museum in Miami. Funds released and billed for our youth, our young adults, our seniors, and our children. Come on, audit the audit, whatever it takes. Let's build and solve and resolve this problem. The people I represent, they're waiting on an answer. For years, they've waited on this answer. We think it's an educational opportunity for everyone and for everyone to learn our story. Now, what do you want me to tell them? Aretha Franklin liked to say, if you know who she is, R-S-P-E-C-T, tell me what it means to you. Tell me what it means to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. My name is Ovid Val, 25 Northwest 51st Street. I'm an attorney. I grew up in the Little Haiti area. speaking a little bit on Resolution 11 as it refers to the appointment of Jeffrey Duferstein, I just want to say that I think that it's about time we have people with his caliber and with his accolades and with his kind of resume that's going to be managing something like that. So I'm here on their behalf to endorse him. And just on the side note, I think it's kind of clear what the community really wants as it relates to the Virginia Key Beach. So I hope we all do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Mary Reeves, and I come as that little girl when we had to rise at 5 a.m. in the morning to catch 3 buses, carrying our brown bags and praying that they didn't break, to go and enjoy the only beach that we could enjoy at that time. With the current situations that are going on in the legislature, especially the Florida legislature, I trying to erase our history, everyone's history, is sad. It saddens this little girl. Lastly, I would ask that we do the right thing and to do it expediently. It has been a while, and it has been a long time coming. I ask that we respect, embrace everyone's culture, and make this city, this Miami-Dade County, a place that we can say, we did it, and show them our love. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Thelma Anderson Gibson from 3661 Franklin Avenue, Coconut Grove, Florida. And I was hoping.
Welcome to your house.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Let me say good morning to the audience. You know, it's always a pleasure for me to be here and to thank you all for doing what you're doing. You've done so much for me over the years and for our community. But today, I wanted to talk just a little bit about the importance of the public, the trust, Virginia Key Trust, because the background is so important. And I think that some of you don't know how we even got a Virginia Key Beach. And it was 1944 and 45 that black folk decided they were going to come together and do something about getting a beach for us. We were going, they had a little part for us on Crandon Park in the beach, and we were so separated, and they were always saying words about what happened to us colored people. You know, we were Negroes and colored back then. Many of you don't realize that we didn't get black until the 70s.
Yes.
And then young people decided in the 80s we became African Americans. But as Negroes, we had nothing. Our children had nowhere to go and swim. We had to go all up to Dania Beach or some other place to go to the water. And so, in spite of the fact that I was short of breath this morning, I said, I've got to get down this hall and let them know that I hope they'll reconsider taking this away from us. Because people like Neil Adams, who was president of Brownsville NAACP, and Dr. Hawkins and Reverend Graham, who were president of the Miami branch of NAACP, Ms. M. Ashley Range, who was our first black woman commissioner in the city of Miami, and then went to the state of Florida to work on our behalf. And so people like Garth Reeves and the people who went to the city, came to the city, and went out and said, we've got to have a beach for colored people and Negroes, as we were known back then. And so this is how they fought to get Virginia Key Beach. And we had that. And then you, the city commission, decided to have the trust. And the trust was doing a good job, and they were really trying to do something with that and to improve the conditions. And it has been such an improvement so far that I remember when Brown was in charge of the park, and we got some little things done. I had gone away to nursing school, and when I came back and saw all the things that had been taking place, I was decided that I had to stay home and fight for the rights of my people and the ancestors who fought for this. So I'm hoping and praying that this commission will reconsider taking over the trust and let us feel like we have something that we have control of. And so my plea to you this morning is that you'll reconsider what you have taken over, the Virginia Key Trust, and let us continue. Mr. Tenney has done such a great job when he was doing on the trust, and so many people who are dead. And I know that they will be crying if you don't let us continue to have something in this great city of Miami. And I just want to pray that you will reconsider this taking over as the city. And I want to thank you in advance for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may, Thelma, Ms. Gibson, hello, it is me, Manolo. I known her for a long, long time since I first came to work at the city of Miami when Reverend Goodson was a city commissioner. I used to go visit her and her husband with a good friend of them, Jack Alfonso, and we used to spend hours there talking, and you got my great respect, as was your late husband. We was a wonderful, magnificent city commissioner. But I want to assure you, you can go home and be sure that history is not going to be rewritten, that the Black Beach is going to still be the Black Beach, that Virginia Key is going to have a museum, that it is going to have, for all people to come and witness and find out about the origin of that beach and the plight and fight of the African American people for freedom. I can assure you that while I'm here, I'm going to be fighting for it.
Appreciate it.
Okay?
Thank you so much.
And I know that all of us, we want that Virginia Key will remain. I don't know where you got the idea that it was going to be renamed, or that it was not going to be the Black Beach anymore. Because when I came in 1959, that was the Black Beach. And let me tell you something that you might not know. Some of us Cubans, because we were not so happily received in Miami, we were discriminated by many people, you see, of all colors and all shapes. And some of us, we used to go swim there, you see, because we were not rejected.
Okay.
Even if we could walk into Cranton Park, still we were the speaks. Okay, and I will never forget the times that I used to go and swim at Virginia Beach, because it was peaceful and it was nice.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and we were accepted. So I will not allow that, and nobody here is going to allow that. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So rest assured that that ain't going to happen.
There's my Mr. Mayor. Did you hear me? You heard what I said, Mr. Mayor.
I did, Commissioner. I certainly did. And I have to apologize, Chairman King, but this is my favorite commissioner. You're second. You'll always be my favorite commissioner, ma'am.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Karen Hunter Jackson, 1420 Northwest 199th Street. My grandparents came here under contract from the Bahamas and helped build the city. And my concern is not that either party is capable of doing and building the museum, but that the trust has a singular interest and focus. And commissioners have divided interest and are subject sometimes to lobbyists and other pressures, and commissioners come and go. And Madam Chair, you may have the biggest heart and and greatest intention on doing right by Virginia Key, but by placing it under the chairperson's or the commissioner's purview, when that changes, that heart may not be there. And that singular focus on doing right by the trust or Virginia Key may not be there. So I think by putting it in keeping it in the protective hands of the trust would, for the long term, secure and ensure that that focus and the mission would be met. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Zach Spicer, 863 Northeast 79th Street, Miami. I would say it's good to be here, but we all just witnessed the interruption of this emotional and personal discussion to virtue signal about the values of democracy and paint other countries as villains. Before that, it was already unfortunate that I have returned to City Hall because you all are once again attempting to unjustly upend the historic management of Virginia Key. If you want to stick to your promises that Virginia Key will remain the same, the museum built, the history preserved, then SR 5 must be withdrawn, thrown out, discarded, and never brought back to the table. As much as you can claim that nothing will be changed on Virginia Key, the timing of this decision is obvious. We see what you're doing. There's a reason that more than half of this room is black, because you are openly bringing anti-black legislation to the table. You are not allowed to look at us and tell us that grabbing power from a majority black trust in charge of a historically black beach is not suspicious. What you're trying to do here is spit in the face of activists and black residents across the city of Miami and the county as a whole. What makes you think you have any of the skills necessary to effectively manage the trust or select appointees to it? What makes you think you or your appointees can do it better than those that have been doing it for years or generations? It is extremely obvious to everyone present that this comes in the wake of the backlash against the proposed homeless encampment alongside desires for development on Virginia Key. You are proving that it is wrong to have faith in our government, that regardless of what the public says, you will happily make your backroom deals and move forward. We saw this happen 2 weeks ago. When dozens of community members came out in support of the outdoor center, you completely ignored our requests. I'm here to say again, we do not need development or your influence in Virginia Key. Here's your chance to do the absolute bare minimum and allow the community to continue governing itself. Also, SR 4 must be discarded as well for what I hope are obvious reasons. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Tangela Sears, 1140 Northwest 62nd Street. Just here to say, this is something that was approved back in 2005. I'm just sorry that the chair is being attacked by things that have not been done, but we support you in working to make sure that a museum is put up in the Virginia Beach area and working with the trust and trying to do that. But the trust have had an opportunity to do that over the years, and nothing has been done. So it's sad that we're here today and we're laying responsibility on someone that just took office 2 years ago.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. My name is Patrick Range, lifetime City of Miami resident, business owner, 5727 Northwest 17th Avenue. I'm also the current chair of the Virginia Key Beach Park Trust. We know that that position that I hold currently, at the end of today, I may no longer hold. I stand before you with tears in my eyes today because of the passion, not only that I have invested into this trust, but the passion of so many that have come before me. And that's why I'm here today. As I told you at last meeting, it's not about me. It's not about me having to be the chair of this trust. It's not about me having to be a trust member. It's about the mission of this trust. The master plan that was approved by this body to build this museum on Virginia Key and to have this park remain in perpetuity for the enjoyment of all of our citizens, our children, our grandchildren. That's what this is about. And so I don't want to belabor things today, but I do want to make just a couple of points and offer a couple of recommendations and offer, as I have from the very beginning, my support, my assistance in whatever way, in whatever capacity that I can give it. and that is sincere. I come before you today as a land use attorney. I hold a Juris Doctor. I also hold a Master of Laws in real property development. Developing is what I have been trained to do. I have represented the biggest developers in this town that are responsible for the reasons that people want to come and visit this great city of Miami today. And so again, that's why I stand before you to add to what this marvelous magic city already has. You all know the impact of museums.
Thank you.
I do have some folks that are willing to donate their time for me if you're willing to hear me,
Perfect.
and that would include Sheila Foreman. You all know the impact that museums have on cities and on areas. It can be seen everywhere. This is a gem that you all will be able to tout as you go around and visit other places, as you tell folks the story of this city that you helped to build. This is only a piece of that, but a great piece. This can be the first museum dedicated to the Black history experience here in Miami. It also is a great environmental gem. And let me be very frank. I appreciate your, and all of your overtures about wanting to see this museum built. That is important, and that says more than anything, okay? And so we want to believe that here today. But we also know, and I won't say names, but we know that there are influences in the county that for some reason or other don't want to necessarily see this built on Virginia Key. And we've heard the stories, but let me tell you, our plans have always been to build a first-class museum on Virginia Key. Not only a first-class museum, but one that will be resilient to sea level rise. This is an opportunity for us to be an example to the world of how to deal with sea level rise. You all have the ability to champion this and to tout this to the world. We have thought about this. We have thought about how to make this building work, okay? Raising the level of construction so that it would not be affected by sea level rise, the certain siting on the property that would give us the maximum protection. So these are things that we've thought about. These are some of the expertise that we bring to the table that we offer to you, okay? The museum, again, is what we are here about, but I would be remiss if I did not address some of the concerns that were expressed previously. There were comments made reference to our payroll and those sorts of things that are going on, and I do have other persons that are willing. Ms. Nancy Nieves. I will just say this about the payroll, and I'll leave it alone. Our payroll, the percentage of our payroll versus our overall budget is in line with that of the city, is in line with other organizations of our type. I think we were mischaracterized at the last meeting. We're not a business. We are not a business. So we should not be held to the standards of a business. A business has different percentages for what you would consider payroll should be, okay? This is a park. This is a park. And again, I think that we're all willing to look at whatever concerns that you have to address them. If it's payroll, again, we can deal with that. Help us to help you. That's what we're here for, okay? Also, I want to address the audit of the trust that has become finalized. I was very hurt, as were many members of our trust and our staff, by the accusations that were leveled by this body against our body, our trust. Accusations of malfeasance, financial impropriety, hands in the cookie jar, all of these were things that were said on the record about us. I have in my hands today a copy of the finalized audit, which you all should have received. I would like to submit this to the city clerk as a part of the record for this item, so that it's available for all to see. Now, there were findings in this audit, none of which, however, mentioned financial impropriety, malfeasance, or anyone's hands in the cookie jar. There are things there that are of a serious nature that need to be corrected, but nothing that rises to the level of the things that we heard said against us at previous commission meetings. And so the first thing I would ask, just out of fairness, is that we receive apology from this body for those accusations that were leveled against us that were untrue, false. And, you know, I'm not here to threaten or anything of the sort, but there were slanderous things that were said against us at those previous meetings, and I'll leave it there. And so I would ask for an apology from this body for those accusations. We have persons here whose reputations can be affected and have been affected by those comments, including mine. Arlene Perez. We have folks here that have jobs that they go to every day. We have clients that we represent every day, just like some of you do in your personal lives and your personal businesses. And to stand here as a volunteer and be impugned in the way that we were, without evidence, was unfair and unjust and should not have happened. And so, again, I demand an apology from this body for those things that were said against us and really helped to create a lot of this storm that we're in today. There's also comments made about us being self-sufficient and looking for us to be self-sufficient, which, as I stated at last meeting, for 7 years we were self-sufficient. We didn't receive a dollar from the city. And so we can be that again. But I ask you, look around the country. What parks are self-sufficient? What parks run themselves without any contribution from the body, the city, the municipality that they sit in? Very few, I would suggest. This is the largest park in the city of Miami, 82 acres. Why should it not be the best park? This is a park that all of your constituents enjoy. Most of the folks that attend our park don't look like me on a daily basis, but they go and they enjoy. And they have the opportunity to learn about a historical gem and an environmental gem that is Virginia Key. And that's what we as a trust are all about, providing that education, providing that historical understanding. That's what our mission is here, not to be adverse to you. We're here to work with you. We cannot do anything without you. Let me be clear about that. Let me state that again. We cannot do anything without you. You all have the vote that we require to move any of this forward as regards to this museum. Thank you. So again, we say we are here to work with you. Tell us what your issues are with us. Let us help you fix them. That's what we are here to do. That's what I pledge to you to do. We have been a stepchild of this city. There's no question about it. Again, I restate, why are we not a part of the Parks Department, Mr. Manager? That would solve a lot of our financial issues that you all raised questions about, a lot of our staffing issues that you all raised questions about. Why are we not a part of the Parks Department? Why do we not receive a dollar from the Parks Department? And for some comparisons that were made at the last commission meeting, we are not Bayfront Park Trust. We are not an event space. We are not an event space. Nothing in our ordinance says anything about us being an event space. We are a park. We hold events because we did not receive sufficient money from the city to operate the park. Half of the issues in the audit are related to special events and special events items that, if we weren't holding events, wouldn't even be issues for us. Again, I say to you, we need your help. We need your help. Reasons why you all should not want to sit as trustees doesn't grant you any more authority over the outcome of what we are doing. You all hold the keys to us unlocking the money at the county. And let me tell you, there are folks there that wouldn't necessarily want to see us get that money. This money is for the city of Miami. And it's you all's responsibility to see to it that we get it and build this museum. Reasons why you don't want to be trustees. You'd be duplicating your work.
Charles Wayman.
You'd be duplicating your work. If you're going to sit as the Virginia Key Trust, anything you approve as the trust, you're going to have to come back and approve here, particularly as it relates to the museum. So kind of like you do in some situations in the CRA, not all of them, but sometimes you got to take a vote there and then you got to come back and take a vote here. So if you all sit as trustees, you're going to have city staff, city clerk's office there taking notes, wasting taxpayers' money so that you all can come back as this body, the city commission, and approve what needs to be done. Justify that for me, please. Many of you have no connection to this park, so why would you want to sit as trustees to it? Half of you have not made appointments to our board since you've been elected. Why that is, I don't know. But we invite you to have your input, have your voice, make your appointments. And your voice can be heard, your input can be there. Again, we know that we have to do whatever it is that we have to do through you. So we're not here to be adversarial. We're here to say that we want to get this done now. Just like you, we're tired of waiting. It's ridiculous that it's been 18 years since the GOB monies were approved for this project. It's ridiculous. And trust me, I can give you a whole host of reasons and obstacles that have been put in place that were not brought about by this trust that have kept us from moving forward. So do you really want to duplicate your work? Do you really want to be in a situation where you've got to create a museum and you don't have the institutional knowledge, the background about the history that you're going to be building this museum to represent?
Sorry, I can't hear your name.
Samantha Bloomfield. What do you really know about Virginia Key Beach Park? How many of you all have been out to the park in the last 5 years? This is what we do. This is what we know as volunteers. And we're here offering ourselves. I could be at work. I should be at work right now. Should be on a funeral. Should be representing a client. But I need to be here. And I pledge to you, I'm not going anywhere. Whatever you do today, you will see my face. That's my pledge to you. Requests that we ask of you today, first and foremost, build our museum. Let us help you do it. We got a little bit of institutional knowledge, a few things that can help you. Few experiences, obstacles that we've had to cross that we shouldn't have to cross again. Use this knowledge and whatever little bit of expertise that we have to help you. Provide us with a calendar, a timeline for getting this done. If you all are really sincere, and we believe that you are, help us to put a calendar together with the manager staff that we can all follow and track the progress of what we're doing here so that we can all get to the end goal that we want. Help us to do that. Direct staff to fast track this project. Ask the city manager to give us dedicated staff to moving this forward. Dedicated staff that will deal with the county, getting us beyond these hurdles that we've had in terms of being able to access these dollars from the county so that we can get started on the construction of the museum. Because I do believe that staff has been part of the delay for us. Things come up. We had an item on the agenda today, PH 8, deferred on the floor. Why? We've been trying to get this item on the agenda since February. A bid waiver to get our consultant back on board so we can amend our business plan.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Luis Linares. And I'm almost done here, commissioners. Thank you for your indulgence. We've been trying to get this item on the agenda since February. And it's on today and it gets pulled. Why? My understanding is because staff didn't have time to meet with you all. Since February, these are the type of delays that we can't have. And these are the type of delays that have caused us to be 18 years out with money in hand, unable to build this museum. So again, I'm asking you today, help us. Help us help you. Lastly, I want to request, again, we believe your sincere desire to have this museum built. As you all know, the Miami Forever Bond is in play. Tranche 1 has been completed. I don't know if staff can say how many dollars were given to parks in Tranche 1 of the Miami Forever Bond. Guess how much Virginia Key Beach Park received out of the first tranche of the Miami Forever Bond? So you tell me you're serious about building this museum. Tranche 2 is out now. Each of you have over $20 million in your personal district funds for resilience. We are ground zero for sea level rise and resilience. Let us be the example for you. Give us some of your resilience dollars to make this museum be the gem for sea level rise. We could be LEED Platinum and be an example to the world of how you deal with sea level rise. The dollars are there to do it. You don't have to give us all of your resilience money. Give us a couple of million from each of you. Some of you were very generous and willing to being willing to give us $150,000 from your personal budget. The Miami Forever Bond funds are funds that you have to allocate somewhere.
Michelle Swaby Smith.
I believe there's also monies in that second tranche that have not even been allocated for a purpose yet. So you could give some of it to us as a park, as we probably should have gotten in the first tranche. If you're serious, that's an easy way to do it, in my mind. So these are our requests before you today. Help us to get staff in line to move this forward on a fast-track basis. Use us in whatever capacity that you will. I will be here to help you, again, in whatever capacity that I can. My expertise is available to you. But we're all here working. We're all here, we want to get this done. Remove us, don't remove us, we'll be here. That I promise you. Last thing I'll say, it's funny that we're having this meeting today. Today is known as Sir Lancelot Jones Day. If you're not familiar with Sir Lancelot Jones, maybe my colleague Gene will tell you a little bit about him when he comes up, but you should look him up. This is his day. Only thing I'll tell you about him, he fought to save a park. That park later became Biscayne National Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. My name is Valerie Crawford, 50 Biscayne Boulevard. And I was going to yield my time today, but when I saw Mrs. Gibson get up, it pained my heart that that woman had to get out of her bed to come for something like this and not a ribbon cutting. And if you want to do anything to honor her and the legacy of our people, you will rescind or reject that, because that woman should be going to ribbon cuttings, and we should be honoring the legacy of all the shoulders that we stand on today. So please don't dishonor her nor us. I am begging you to reject or rescind that, because this is unfair to that woman and all of the people behind her. And if she wants it, then you guys should honor her by rejecting or rescinding that. And I am begging you to please honor this woman while she's breathing and do the right thing today.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. My name is Gene Tinney. I reside at 74 Northwest 51st Street in the Magic City of Miami. I am the founding vice chair of the Virginia Key Beach Park Trust, honored to have served with Mrs. M. Athley Range, our founding chair and immediate past chair. I'll begin by bringing greetings from Dr. Enid Curtis Pinckney, who could not be here today. Today's her day for dialysis, but she sends her greetings, and I think you know her sentiments from the last time she was here and spoke. And I'm glad that our present chair, Mrs. Range's grandson, Patrick Range, brought up Sir Lancelot Jones Day, which is today throughout the state of Florida. His family is, as you heard, responsible for providing the land that is now Biscayne National Park. I'll try and try real hard to be brief. What I'd like to just call attention to, I think it'll be helpful to all of us to clear the air on one thing. Much has been made of the findings that the auditor made in the Auditor General's report. When the auditors are to corporations and organizations and government what editors are to authors. When auditors bring findings, these are not indictments. These are just corrections. All they're saying is, these are things you need to fix so you can do your job better. And after you fix those, there'll be other audits and there are going to be other findings. There's not a person in this room, except one, I guess, that will remain nameless, who's never done anything and therefore never made any mistakes. But there's nobody in this room who, if our life, business, is that it? Oh.
Stanley Young, yield my time.
Thank you. There's nobody here who, if our personal life dealings were audited, there would be findings. So I'd like for us going forward to be free of all the sensationalizing and senseless, grandstanding when there's productive work to be done. Madam Chair, I want to make special mention of the fact that we're not here so much, the question before us is not so much if the trust should be disbanded and reconfigured as why. Why is this being done? This whole impetus has been on questionable information, unfounded allegations, mass misinformation. And Madam Chair, I want to just say special appreciation to you for keeping the ship aright during the storm and crafting some kind of compromise that could get us through this, which got approved 30 days ago. But the hard truth is that that compromise is not needed. There is no need to restructure the trust. If the trust is disbanded, and we're not talking about just, yes.
Ketchy Okpala, yielding my time.
Thank you very much. We're looking at the lives and livelihoods of dedicated people who have given to this cause above and beyond. And I'm speaking about our employees, our consultants. These are not decisions to be just made hastily and without sound informational basis. So I appreciate, and I can speak honestly for the whole trust and as taxpayers, of course we appreciate the audit. Of course we appreciate knowing what needs to be corrected. We appreciate your scrutiny as commissioners. We wouldn't expect anything less. But let's not use this gift of life in unintelligent ways when there is so much to be done. So, and I guess the last thing I also want to just make, and I yield to others, we hear so often that how much the city has given to the trust, et cetera, et cetera. We're taxpayers. If I were to tell you how much people like Dr. Pinckney, Mrs. Range, Mrs. Eugenia B. Thomas, Ms. Bernice Sawyer, and others have given to the city of their time. If I told you the tens of thousands of volunteer hours that people have brought to that beach, no, we are not a charity coming here with our hat in hand begging for any kind of support. Thank you so much for your attention, and then we come back to our senses and simply rescind SR 5 and go forward in a productive way. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Honorable Chair, Honorable Commissioners, my name is Sharon Frazier. I'm a community advocate. I'm standing in here in support of the Virginia Key Trust. This is an historic park that when my family came here in the 50s from Georgia, when we found out that we could not swim on Miami Beach, but we worked there. When we found out that we cannot go to Crandon Park Beach. So as we Black Americans can enjoy Miami Beach and the city of Miami parks and beaches, allowed us to have Virginia Key, the colored beach. There is some organizations that are not being transparent, and yes, they need to be audited. And maybe, and just maybe, some of those board members might need to be replaced. But to have our trust, the colored beach, when I was a little girl in 1968, went to the colored beach and enjoyed the colored beach. We have some commissioners that's on the dais that came from a country of oppression. Please do not come to our country and oppress the African American blacks, because we have been fighting. The NAACP have knocked down doors to open up avenues for us to prosper. God bless you, and God bless the city of Miami.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Courtney Berrien, 3325 Charles Avenue. I work at Barry University. I wasn't going to come today, but I was listening to this hearing, and I decided to cancel all of my meetings and get myself down here to speak. I run community engagement programs at Barry University, and before that, I worked in the nonprofit sector, working with Miami-Dade County Public High School students, connecting them to civic engagement opportunities. And I'm here to speak about the value added that the Virginia Key Beach Park Trust has provided to us over the years that I think is very valuable that would disappear with this proposal. The members of the board repeatedly give their time to Barry and to other educational institutions to preserve this very important history. And I have to tell you, when I heard the history that there was a segregated beach here and that folks of color could not go to other beaches, I'm not a person of color and I didn't live here during that time, my immediate reaction is that this was a terrible story, that this was a sad, terrible story that would be uncomfortable for people. And while the evil of segregation does need to be talked about and taught, that's not the story that this community is trying to preserve, and I had to be educated about that. I learned that this place was a place where all of South Florida's communities of color could come together, celebrate their families, celebrate each other, be prosperous, be on the dance hall. I learned that this was a story of perseverance, and it was an opportunity to put Miami on the map as an early civil rights story. That story needs to be told by the people who live it, not by an outsider like me that might not understand what was important about preserving. It's extremely important that people who are part of marginalized communities have the opportunity to tell and preserve their own story and be the navigator of that story. And I have to tell you, it feels really wrong, if not arrogant, that there's a proposition that others can come and tell that story for them. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Billy Hardeman, 655 Northwest 48th Street. This is not, in my view, about the trust. This is about mistrust. And it's about mistrust of the commission. I don't share that mistrust. I trust the commission as a body to do what's right. The main thing that I want to say about historic Virginia Key Beach is that we, as a community, can do better at Virginia Key Beach. A beach that you can't swim in, it's no beach. It's not a beach if you can't swim in it. If you can't, it's a disgrace to call it a beach if you can't swim in it. because it's unsafe. But we as a body, as a community, can make it safe, can make it a real beach. I love Arthur Till. I love Ms. Range. I love Commissioner Gibson. But today, in 2022, our commissioner is Commissioner Christine King. And we should give her an opportunity to make Virginia Key Beach what it should be. And I plead with her colleagues to help her to make Virginia Key Beach something we all can be proud of. You know they don't want us up by the beach. They beat the hell out of us every time we go over there.
Thank you.
So let us reclaim the Black Beach and make it a place we all can enjoy. Thank you.
I'm giving him my time.
He's finished. Good morning.
Good morning, commissioners. Thank you all for being here and listening to us. My name is Dennis Fuller. I live at 2576 Trapp Ave, just down the street. I'm the son of a Cuban immigrant. My mom came here on the Peter Pan flights. I went to George Washington Carver with your daughter, Caroline. Virginia Key is truly a sacred place. Socially, ecologically, it's something that needs to be preserved, and I'm not here to point fingers. I think we can all work together and do something really, really important that will be celebrated nationally. And I think that's the key here, that we need to do something that makes this place shine. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Sandy Dorsonville, 57 Northeast 69th Street. I come to speak in support of RE 11. Although the revitalization is key to ensuring Haitian culture remained embedded in the fabric of the city of Miami, the Little Haiti Trust Initiative has been sabotaged at every turn. Finally, we see the city is attempting to do what the community has been urging, to make the trust operational. It is very ironic that we are here today battling the dismantling of another trust for a historically Black space. And we're also battling to see the city do something positive for Little Haiti in establishing a working, functional trust. And there's so much conversation around trusting the commission to do the right thing, but they've had 18 years to do the right thing. And they had over 5 years to do the right thing in Little Haiti. I think the history and the pattern is obvious and it speaks for itself. We can only trust the facts and what we see as a community and not just the words of a body of people. So I hope to see DeFirst and Nuri do great things at the Little Haiti Revitalization Trust and make it operational. And I hope that the commission will continue to let the Virginia Key Trust members do their work and to support them moving forward instead of throwing roadblocks constantly as they try to move forward and build something safe and secure and a beautiful beach that we can use for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Louis Marzabetti Garza, homeless at Peacock Park. Amongst everybody who has given their address, I'd just like you to know that we were part of the homeless team that were here in the last 2 or 3 meetings that were completely against having a key. Although it has been 18 years, it's a lot of money, folks. Figure out what they've been doing with it. Now I'm going to add fuel to the fire. with SR2, page 26. In mere weeks, we had first Taiwan that we're being gentle to, and now we're being to Jose Mascanosa, we're being very nice to. In mere weeks, all of you shall hear the truth of the deep and wide swamp that runs rampant in this agenda, and the authors of same, the elected trader participants. That said, I vehemently oppose the naming and or honoring any park, land, or statue, etc., in the name of Jorge Mascanosa of Mastec. It seems interesting that you do something like this so quickly for the Cuban community, and yet this community is saying, wait 18 years. Particularly as Jorge Mascanosa self-identified as a traitor to our nation and loyal to Cuba. You can check his wiki resume on that. And again, I remind you of what you've done in bringing in the filth of Taiwan and the communist aspect behind it. And to all present here, you have been given 1 year to do the right thing on behalf of we the people. I have faithfully done my patriot duty to awaken all of you to this game over. There are no deals and no mercy. You may wish to dust off that cyanide pill now. Choose ye this day. Are you friend or foe? Trump or Joe? The patriots can hear you breathe. Where we go one, we go all. And finally, Eddie Leal, one of the city attorneys here, TikTok. As Desi one day said to Lucy, you have some explaining to do. We are now in full circle. Karma is waiting. Thank you. And next time, I would like the opportunity to have somebody that. Thank you.
You never asked. Good morning.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Martin Jean-Baptiste Petit Dieu Seul et Renan Chéry. I'm the chairman of the Captain Haiti Foundation, and I would like to start by saying Haitianos representa la segunda nacionalidad más grande de Miami, después de nuestros hermanos y hermanas en la lucha por la libertad. This is why I came to Miami from Montreal, Canada. Because as a solution, as an entrepreneur, I found solution for Little Haiti, and I want to get involved with my community. So I've created the Captain Haiti coin and the Little Haiti coin. And I've met with the past City of Miami, Mike Sarasti, and my model became a precursor from the Miami coin, like you guys mentioned when the Miami coin was presented to you. So I am also the founder of Miami Crypto Cleanup. On September 17, we took out 430 pounds of trash from the street of Little Haiti and enrolled 32 new clients to support the local businesses in Little Haiti. We are now scheduled to reward volunteers for cleanup in Alapata, Overtown, and Liberty City as well. So we also are building an NFT box in Little Haiti right across the marketplace. That NFT box is to welcome the youth of Little Haiti that wants to get educated into the blockchain. So my reason why I'm saying this is as an entrepreneur coming to get involved in Little Haiti, I'm here to support DJ Neary as the new executive director of the Little Haiti Trust. Why? It was important for me to do this because as an entrepreneur, as a Haitian, we thought that the only gate to access to Little Haiti was the cultural center. And I have to tell you, with the disgraceful departure of the last two manager of the cultural center,
Thank you.
We are glad to have the...
Hi, this is, you want to?
Guy Fortune, yielding my time.
Thank you. I spoke earlier to that, thank you. Again, this is Terry Williams. I'm President, Chief Operating Officer of One United Bank. In addition to being the president, I'm also the owner of the bank. And I stand here before you representing Black business leaders and owners and clergy who actually sent a letter, email to all of you, requesting that you rescind or reject SR5. And the reason is that we are seeking equitable economic development in Miami-Dade County. Equitable economic development. And what that is it respects the Black culture that is here. It ensures diversity in economic development. and it looks to create economic engines as well as housing and other benefits to our community. Eliminating the trust is not consistent with equitable economic development. And so we request that you, again, reject or rescind it. I also want to say that this is not personal. There was a comment earlier about Commissioner Christine King. This is not about Christine King. It's not about Terry Williams. It's not even about all the signatories that sent that letter to you. This is really about making our community more equitable. It's about making our community better and actually celebrating the diversity that is in our community. We represent 20% of the population, but only receive 2% of the government economic engine. Black people comprise close to 20% of the Miami population, but only receive 2% of the benefit. And so we're asking you to ensure equitable economic development by, again, rescinding or declining SR 5. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Gentil, 758 Northwest 121st Street, North Miami. The executive director for the Haitian American Historical Society. Our organization been there for over 21 years, and our founder, Mr. Daniel Fils-Aimé, was one of the people that actually also brought minibus here in Miami. So we have a history as Black people, Haitians, Latinos, the African Americans. I think it's a disrespect to break something that our ancestors have worked so hard to put together, and to really try to erase it that way, I think is a disrespect. And we need to honor their effort and their hard work to have history, to keep history, because it's what represents us that keep us stronger. If we don't know where we come from, we will never know how we're gonna get where we wanna go. So please keep it the way it is, and instead of breaking it, let's make it stronger and help us keep our ancestors honored, and also for the new generation to keep their pride of who they are. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Brenda Barancor, 1436 Southwest 6th Street. I'm sorry I'm going to deviate the majority of the speakers. I'm just concerned about how the new regulations that the unsafe structures are being done. And the reason is, as a president for Calle Ocho Chamber of Commerce, I've been receiving a lot of calls in all the districts in the city of Miami, and people are concerned about when they go to the city and request information for the 40, 50-year certification, but the same person who does the 40, 50-year certification information doesn't provide any information about the unsafe violations. So I just want you to understand, as a public, when they go to a specific department in the city of Miami, they expect to have all the information. Unless they know that you need to ask for two different persons who give you information for the same property, they're not going to know. And I remember all of you that the new regulations are being enforced, and the public had never found out that it's being enforced until they receive a letter saying you are under code violation of unsafe. So please, I want you to think about it, how exactly the public is going to actually receive the information when they go to the 4th floor with the address for a problem, and they haven't been addressed for both problems that they have. I just want you guys to keep in mind, I have received so many phone calls, and I just need you guys to look at it, how exactly it's being structured. So when the clients goes to the city of Miami, they actually get the full information and they don't get more penalties. Thank you.
Thank you. This appears to conclude our public comment period for today, and we will move forward with setting the agenda. We've set the agenda. Do I have a motion to move the CA items?
I will move it.
Second. And Chair, just for the record, CA1 is to be amended.
CA1 will be amended.
Hold on for a second, please. Look,
You okay?
which substitution? Okay, but this, I'm not here. Chair, but I asked you that after we vote on this, if we could come back for the rest of the agenda. I have something that I got to take care of.
You mean
And-
to break for lunch?
Yeah, break for lunch.
Yes. So I have a motion and a second to move the CA item. CA1 will be amended. Do you need to read that?
It was just to clarify that the manager has additional authority to do an impact fee waiver covenant and an affordable housing trust fund, an affordable housing waiver, and also additional easements.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second to move the CA agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Do you want to do, Madam Chair, do you want to do the Omni agenda right before we begin our meeting after lunch? Because Commissioner Caro, I would like him there.
Whatever the will of the body is.
If we come back at 3, we're coming back at 3? 3. So 2:45, maybe we can do 2:50, we can do the Omni? Sure, that'll be fine.
Okay. At this time, the meeting is in recess. We will be back at 3 o'clock or 2:45 for the Omni CRA